I've got to say, it's been ages. I don't know if I've ever seen Hans Niemann this slow, Tanya, as he's played today. The first game, big time trouble, partly because his position was bad. This game, huge time trouble. Normally he's super confident, super quick, super speedy, very strong moves in the process. Maybe it is that birthday curse. Maybe, I don't even know how to explain it. Maybe it's just the positions, the fact that it's so unorthodox, this start position. But either way, he's got decent chances. He just needs to be quicker.
I thought the birthday curse for 2025 was over with Gukesh's 19th birthday performance at Norway Chess, taking down the biggest names, two, not just one. I think he beat Hikaru, then beat Magnus at the turn of his birthday and then on his birthday. But I wonder if that was the start or the end of the birthday gift for chess players for 2025.
Yeah, this new generation breaking all the taboos, shaking off all our preconceptions about chess. I was always taught if it's your birthday, just withdraw or take a break, quick draw, whatever. Don't play a proper long game of chess on your birthday. Here, Hans is battling for a very, very important prize on his 22nd birthday. Tanya, would you take this pawn back? White has just captured a pawn on c5, or would you be inclined to trade queens off and seek compensation, even not recapturing the pawn?
That's the big question here. I mean, if he takes the pawn back, if Yu Yangyi does that, then I think suddenly the idea of Hans Niemann's rook a3 comes to play, right? You put that rook, line it up against the bishop and the queen, you play it to rook c3, and it just feels like then black will have to waste another move, maybe come back to try to unpin himself. David, if you don't take the pawn back and you want to go into an endgame, you have to be so precise in finding your compensation, because give white just a couple of moves to develop and to regroup, and suddenly you're just playing down a pawn. So again, I think the pawn grabber in me is saying I would like to neutralize, but then what happens after rook c3 would be the big question for me.
Mm-hmm. He does take the pawn, rook c3 immediately. Now he also takes the knight. So bishop for knight trade. Hans Niemann, okay, not immediately recapturing. Every Russian schoolboy knows that you take towards the center. That's the saying. You normally capture towards the center, but here he opens up his rook on the f-file instead. A very brave decision, Tanya.
You spoke about how all this younger generation is breaking all the traditional rules of chess. What do you think? At 22, does Hans still count in that young generation, David, breaking the last rule you just mentioned?
Oh, look at this. It's a blunder. He's breaking down a lot of barriers, but queen c2. Apparently now this is winning for white due to a massive pin, traffic jam on the c-file, but the black bishop is going to be caught in the crossfire. Also, watch out, this diagonal. Hans spotted this immediately. There might be knight jumps, by the way, and the white rook unleashed on the f-file, removing a defender.
David, I think knight d2 is a big threat here. You just go knight d2, you're hitting that bishop on c4, and your idea of rook takes knight. It's 2-in-1. It's one move, many grooves, and of course there's b3 in the air. How are you going to fight against all these threats?
Wow. Hans, this is the sneakiest stuff I've seen in ages. He's right back in it. I thought it was just a totally level position. I thought Hans was fighting for equality, and suddenly, the foresight to understand this diagonal is the key, and that this pin is the key, and this white rook is actually doing some grabbing on f6. Let's just put that on the board, Tanya, while Yu Yangyi figures out what to do. Like, if black doesn't do much, knight to d2, let's say black guards now the bishop, then rook takes f6. This is the idea. That's why he took with the f-pawn, because this would land in checkmate.
Can I just point out how tricky that was? His queen was on d1. He set that up, David. He took it with this untraditional recapture, envisioning that queen landing on c2, sort of combining all these tactical motives of a pin on a c line, a hanging bishop on c4, eradicating the defender on f6 with that open rook, 8-7 under fire. I mean, so many patterns coming together. And you said he's back in the game. He's completely winning. He's about to neutralize. He's about to level the match with queen c2. Yu Yangyi now, almost the clock's leveling out. I think he's realizing that he's about to lose big material and lose the game. Shake of his head.
Yeah, it's just over. I don't think you can even try anything here, Tanya. Like, b3, I realized, isn't a threat because black has the move queen to a3 with a check, but it is this knight d2 move, and it's just unstoppable. You don't have time to both block this diagonal and save your bishop on the way. You need three moves. You need like a6, b5, and you need knight g6 to block the diagonal. You just can't get all those moves in one. b5 will always just be captured and bishop will drop.
And he had to use that move, right? Instead of rook c8, we were talking about unpinning for Yu Yangyi. All he had to do was slide his queen exactly where it came from, offering that trade, getting out of the way, and then perhaps even a bishop trade from a2. But rook c8, it's not a single pin. Let's show that, David. Queen d5, and now if you go queen c2, maybe there are other moves, but bishop a2 just feels like the way you want to get as many pieces off the board as possible here. And everything under control.
Yeah. Very, very important moment there. Yu Yangyi, he's gone from a level position to a dead lost position. Now it's too late. And yeah, knight d2 is going to double attack the knight and the bishop. Very, very hidden means there. But 1 minute for Yu Yangyi. A moment ago, he had nearly 10 minutes, and Hans Niemann had 2.5 minutes. Now it's 1 minute against 2.5. This is all collapsed so quickly. This is only move 11, Tanya.
I'm just amazed at the setup. The way he constructed this, Hans Niemann did. With that pawn takes bishop capture on the last move, knight g6 has been played, sort of once again putting together all the tactical motives in the position. Queen c2 immediately landing, and now you can go in, triple down on that bishop. David, knight d2 is still the move that I would want to play. b3 runs into a queen a3 check, so not sure if that's the real path you want to take to win the piece. But to me, knight d2, I don't really see a way for black to hang on to material there. Because knight e5, there's rook takes knight once again. 8-7, thank you very much.
Just to show very quickly, knight d2 wins this bishop, because if the black knight to ride to the defense, rook takes knight, as you say. And let's show the checkmate at the very end on this diagonal. Oof, so sneaky, so hidden. That's knight d2. I'm surprised Hans is hesitating. Gotta be honest, I don't really see what he's calculating here.
Has to be bishop a2. I mean, that's the only move, right? The only other move that puts pressure on the bishop?
Bishop a2 for white. I missed that one. But yeah, that also seems to win the piece.
I don't see a third move. I don't see a third way to do this.
Both moves good enough. And okay, there actually was a move. Hans Niemann played bishop to a2. And Yu Yangyi, just no time on his clock.
5 seconds. This match is about to go into tie breaks. Hans Niemann knows it. Is he about to flag? He makes the move with 1 second on the clock. Going to lose the bishop. Going to lose this game.
Yu Yangyi betraying some emotion for the first time today. For the first time in the play-ins. There was a bit of a shake of the head. Now he's trying to compose himself again. But he's just a clear bishop down, Tanya. Like you pick up a few pawns on the process. Maybe you have some compensation for the piece. But he's got 0 pawns for the bishop, and white's king now super safe. This is just at this high level. An extra piece is game over.
Hans Niemann gets this done. There's just no universe, no reality. Doctor Strange has checked every single one of them. This match goes into tie breaks, David, and I think for Hans, just the way he set up those tactics by grabbing that bishop with that F pawn, I think he deserves it. So just incredible alertness there, and one miss by Yu Yangyi. You know, one hand move, the most natural looking move, get your rook into the file, and then you're just completely busted. So Hans Niemann, tricky as ever.
Yeah, tricky as ever, and he will be rewarded for that trickery very shortly. As Yu Yangyi, I don't think he's going to fight on too much longer. We'll update you with the other game, which is still in full flow very shortly. Not too much has changed on that board. As Fedoseev also aims to strike back and get tie breaks. Tanya here, I would just play rook c1, just try and get the queens off. The queens come off, no more fun for black. Maybe the white knight can also do some jumping, hit the black rook. That's currently undefended, currently a bit loose. But yeah, Hans being a perfectionist here. And who do you think is going to be the favorite, assuming he does strike back now?
You know, usually in traditional 5-on-8 chess, we speak about momentum so much. The player to equalize, to take it to the match. He's feeling the rhythm, feeling the stars align, and maybe has that psychological upper hand. But David, in freestyle chess, it's so hard to talk about these predictions because so much depends on what's drawn. It's going to be 5 minutes with only 3 seconds increment on the clock. That's barely any time for 5-on-8, let alone freestyle chess. I don't know, anything can happen, as it usually does in freestyle chess. David, tough to say, tough to predict. I think it's going to be a hotly contested tiebreaker. and I would love to see it go to Armageddon.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun to watch Hans in Armageddon mode. And in the meantime, we see some exchanges. Nothing really is changing on this board. Um, yeah, piece down. Yu Yangyi fighting on, at least trying to keep the game alive for a while. He drops his rook back to stop any queen trades. But yeah, still an extra very strong bishop, Tanya, for white.
And the problem is that strong bishop doesn't have a counterpart. You're up a whole piece. I mean, it's just amazing that the game does go on, because for Yu Yangyi, he has to just try with everything that he has. Giving up is perhaps uh, just not what he wants to do. But this is just delaying the inevitable. I think in your mind, as a player, you're just sort of getting ready for the tiebreaker as this game goes on. Half of your mind is on the moves here, and half is, okay, I need to set myself, reset myself for what's happening, because I need to do it all over again. By the way, he's setting some ideas of doubling up on the A file and at least coming in with a few checks. How scary is that?
Yeah, enough to scare me. I've got to say, I've panicked in better positions than this for Hans Niemann, but he's got everything under control. I'm assuming if the queen comes, then yeah, I was going to say he brings his knight over. There's still one check, but the white king now can actually safely run away. It can even cross the D file and run over towards the safer half of the board now.
And I wonder if he falls back with the bishop to c3, or he does the king march that you're talking about. Bishop c3, b4, rook a1 was an idea that I was checking out as well. Looked interesting, but he does go with getting his king to safety. I think just a more cautious, more professional approach. Why take chances pinning your own pieces? You may get glory, you may not. He does run away with the king. The bishop still stays active, trying to get some pieces off the board. Yu Yangyi declines it. Hans unpins, and now 11 seconds on the clock for Yu. Jumps in with the knight. David, the knight's coming in. It's coming to e6. Queen's coming to f5.
Yeah. Ooh, it swings across. That is a nasty pin, long-term pin to deal with. Not easy to break out there. And yeah, Hans is being very, very calm, very professional about this. Got to be said. Yeah, he's never really allowed too much counterplay. And still with the full extra bishop. Yeah, he's going to put his king on, or he grabs a pawn in the first instance, but he's going to put his king on h2, Tanya, and then he'll decide how he wants to win this game.
Beautifully done. And every piece is defended, right? And now the knight, you just need to either come back to d3 and keep everything under control, slide your king over, activate that bishop. b4 is hanging as well, but I think Hans doesn't need to rush with it. Look at it, he's just boxing up his own king, keeping everything safe. h4, is he about to kick the knight out? He needs to don't develop that bishop from e1, David. I think he has to find a way to reactivate it. You're pointing out a really nice move, queen c4.
Maybe not anymore because the black knight has blocked any diagonals, but as you said, the bishop is the key. At first you can bring your knight out, like he brings it round. Maybe we just get the bird's eye view up just for a moment, just to update ourselves on the other board, which is a rook and pawn endgame. That one's been a long, long grind. The blue board on the right of your screens at home for everyone. Denis Lazovic down at 10 seconds, 11 seconds, Tanya. 4 pawns versus 3 pawns. Do you think Fedoseyev's got enough to win? The bar thinks it, or at least thought it was winning for a moment.
That's what I was surprised, because 4 versus 3, technically it's a draw, right? 4 pawns, one side, 3 the other, you save it. But the bar said that there was this moment when Fedoseev could have won. That moment's gone. And it had something to do with this last pawn push that he made. Apparently that pawn had to be on b3, and now he's still going to try to create some magic here, trying to channel his inner Magnus Carlsen. But David, 4 versus 3, I think Denis holds this. I think he takes this.
I think the big problem is for Fedoseev. In the meantime, Hans Niemann wins by resignation. He was about to deliver checkmate. Some celebration from him. He's trying to stay calm as, okay, there's a smile on the birthday boy's face there. Yu Yangyi leaving immediately. But that brings us to the remaining game. There was an exchange of pawns. Hans Niemann there trying to get fresh for the tie breaks, the blitz that's upcoming. But yeah, now it's 3 versus 2, Tanya. This is a very elementary draw, I'm going to say. The problem is he got his king stuck in front of his pawn on the